I'll never forget the night my pregnant wife was wheeled into the ER clutching her stomach in pain, and the HOA president shoved a citation in my chest, threatening to tow my car from the emergency curb. 30 weeks along contractions ripping through her body, and this woman thought her rules outweighed federal law. What she didn't know was that the cameras were rolling, and that tape would explode in court. Act 1. The conflict ignites. My name's Daniel Reyes. I'm a paramedic, been doing this job for 15 years. I've charted vitals, called codes, begged death to wait. But nothing prepared me for battling a neighbor with a clipboard. We live in Willow Bend, looks perfect on the outside. Trimmed hedges, matching mailboxes, sidewalks scrubbed down every Friday. Patricia Heller, our HOA president, loves it that way. Loves power even more. She fined a veteran for hanging his flag a few inches off angle, threatened foreclosure on a grandmother whose wheelchair ramp didn't fit the aesthetic, even yelled at kids for chalk drawings on their driveways. That's the kind of community she runs. But the night my wife went into preterm labor, Patricia followed us to the hospital, pulled right up behind us like she was tailing a suspect. I stopped at the ER drop-off because seconds mattered. Elena's breathing was ragged, her hands clawing at my arm, and that's when Patricia shoved a paper against my chest. HOA violation, she said. Policy is policy. Policy, I snapped. This is an emergency intake zone, federally protected. EMTALA requires uninterrupted access to care. She smirked. HOA rules apply. That smirk, I still see it. But here's the part she didn't think about. Hospitals are the most documented places on earth. 3 cameras caught her little stunt, nurses' security timestamps, every second logged. As the triage nurse wheeled Elena away, I kept my voice even, but inside my blood was boiling. I introduced myself the way I always do when it's serious: Daniel Reyes. Paramedic, husband. And in my head I promised this wasn't ending in a hallway shouting match. Tell me, would you have snapped right then or done what I did? Let the cameras do the talking. Drop it in the comments. I'm curious. Act 2. Escalation and the breaking point. Elena stabilized, but when we came home, a bright orange notice was taped to our door. Unauthorized structure. The so-called structure was a removable ramp I'd built so she wouldn't have to climb stairs during bed rest. Safe, code-compliant, temporary. Patricia circled it in red like it was contraband. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains as I pulled it down. Their silence was loud. They'd all felt her reach before, but nobody dared push back. And for a moment, standing there with my wife upstairs on bed rest, I wondered, am I doing the right thing? Should I just pay the damn fines and keep my head down? That's the low point I don't like to admit. The thought that maybe, just maybe, I was the problem. Patricia wanted me to feel isolated, beaten, and it almost worked. But then I remembered why we parked at that curb, why every second counted. The memory of Elena's monitor beeping steady, the baby's stubborn little heartbeat flickering on a screen. That's what pulled me back. I wasn't just protecting myself, I was protecting them. Still, Patricia escalated, called a special inspection at the community pool. She stood there under a striped canopy flanked by board members announcing fines over $5,000, threatening foreclosure, all with that same smug grin. I looked her dead in the eye. You followed me into a hospital. That's not a violation. That's a crime, and it's recorded. The board members shifted uneasy. Patricia's jaw tightened, but she doubled down, claiming she was protecting order, property values, community standards. But I had something she didn't evidence. I pulled out a log of ridiculous fines issued to half the neighborhood. I didn't hand it to her, just let her see the weight of it in my hand. And that's when I noticed her enforcer, Mark Dillon. Retired security guard, HOA badge clipped to his belt even on his day off. He'd been at the ER too. He didn't stop her, but he didn't help either. His eyes that day, they gave him away. A week later, Mark found me behind the maintenance shed. He couldn't carry it anymore. I saw what she did, he muttered, voice shaking. I froze, but I saw your wife's face. I've kept records. Every bogus notice, every order Patricia gave me. He handed me a battered notebook, pages filled with dates, names, details. Years of abuse in his own handwriting. You ever had someone hand you the smoking gun you didn't even dare hope for? That was my moment. But I'll throw this back to you. Do you think Mark's confession makes him a hero or just guilty for staying quiet so long? Comment your take, because even now I go back and forth. Act 3. The Showdown. With Mark's notebook, the hospital footage, and the HOA bylaws I pulled at the courthouse, the picture was clear. Patricia wasn't enforcing rules. She was breaking them, over and over. Her final move came in the form of a foreclosure notice slid under my door. That was it, her kill shot. But she didn't follow the bylaws. No vote, no hearing, just another intimidation tactic. So I walked into the quarterly community meeting at the school gym with a folder thicker than a Bible. Patricia started her usual speech. Rules are rules. Order must be preserved, property values at stake. She looked right at me as she said it, like I was the cancer she needed to cut out. Then the floor opened. I stood folder in hand and walked to the microphone. My voice didn't need volume, the silence carried it. My name is Daniel Reyes. I'm a paramedic, a husband, and a father-to-be. And I need to talk about what happened not just to me, but to all of us. Gasps when I held up Mark's notes. Murmurs when I laid the bylaws down. But the eruption came when I presented the hospital chain of custody form. This document preserves footage of Patricia interfering with emergency intake while my wife, 30 weeks pregnant, fought through contractions. Federal law protects patients. That video shows her breaking it. Neighbors who'd kept their heads down for years suddenly sat straighter. Mrs. Larkin clutched her grandson's hand. The veteran raised his chin. And then the crack. Patricia couldn't repair. Mark Dillon stood. I was there, he said, his voice carrying to the back row. I saw Patricia try to stop intake. I kept notes because I knew one day it'd go too far. That day has come. The gym exploded. Shouts, gasps, people demanding her resignation. Patricia's bored allies looked like they wanted to vanish through the floor. One leaned into the mic, his voice thin but clear. Perhaps we should review the evidence. And Patricia. She gripped the podium so hard her knuckles went white. Tried to pound for order, but her voice drowned under the roar of neighbors who had finally found theirs. Cameras rolled. Phones recorded. She couldn't tear up the folder, couldn't scream her way out. For the first time she looked small, cornered, powerless. I leaned forward, calm. You've told us rules apply equally, but rules don't excuse cruelty, and they don't give you authority you never had. Her mouth opened, but nothing came. The motion passed enforcement against my family suspended Patricia's authority, collapsing in the very room she'd ruled by fear.